This game is awesome. I wish trains were real. Ah, trains. You know what goes well with trains? Touchscreen. Specifically, the resistive touchscreen of the Nintendo DS. Just go with it. In 2009, Nintendo dropped The Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks, a follow-up and narrative sequel to its controversial yet best-selling Phantom Hourglass, which in and of itself was a follow-up to the GameCube's Wind Waker. Spirit Tracks harnesses the DNA of the games that came before it in this branch of the Zelda timeline, iterating on what worked, addressing feedback from Phantom Hourglass, and also trying a whole bunch of new things. Does it work? Does it hold up? Do its refinements and new ideas earn it a spot amongst Zelda's greatest hits? Or do people gas it up too much and look at it through rose-tinted glasses? One thing's for certain, it's looked back on a lot more fondly than its older brother, and yet it's still exclusively controlled with the touchscreen. So, can't win them all. Alright, get comfy, let's have a chat. I really like the Zelda franchise. It's one of my favorites. I really dig Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker and Breath of the Wild, but I don't usually fixate on the series all too much. I have a Zelda phase like once a year, and I usually find myself replaying one of the 3D games. I'm not overly drawn to classic Zelda, and when I say that, I mean the top-down ones, which some people call 2D Zelda, but I do like the ones I played, with a couple standouts for me being A Link Between Worlds and the 2019 remake of Link's Awakening. Hell, my first Zelda was Phantom Hourglass, which falls into that 2D category, and I've replayed that a few times since childhood, but I think I've only ever played its sequel, like, once before now? So before we delve into Spirit Tracks to work out if it holds up or not, let's take a quick look at its predecessor. I've spoken about Phantom Hourglass at length before, but for a bit of a TLDR, it was a narrative sequel to Wind Waker. Its most controversial element was that it controlled entirely with the touchscreen, and its second most controversial element was a dungeon you had to run through every single time you beat a dungeon, the Temple of the Ocean King. Don't make me go back, don't make me go back, don't make me go back! The main gimmick of the Temple of the Ocean King was that it reset on every run. This was before the explosion of mainstream popularity of the roguelike and roguelite genres of game, but it very much fits into the roguelite umbrella. You have to traverse the same floors multiple times while using the titular Phantom Hourglass to fend off a curse that sucks the life out of you. The more you ran through it, the more you accumulated knowledge about how its floors are laid out, how its enemies patrol, and that, combined with the items that you were obtaining on your journey, made for an easier and easier time each visit. Still, story and world progression was gated off by subsequent visits to the place, and the game overall could have probably done with one or two less runs through it. It's probably the biggest pain point of the entire game, and so to address that, the sequel also has a central dungeon that gates progression. Yeah, look, it's nowhere near as offensive or egregious as the Temple of the Ocean King, and we'll get to it soon. At times, Spirit Tracks is kind of a greatest hits compilation of Phantom Hourglass with a few tweaks. It feels like it presents a more refined version of a lot of the ideas that game had, with the biggest ones being that central dungeon mechanic, the touchscreen controls, and the overworld traversal. In Phantom Hourglass, you got from island to island via the sea, having relative freedom to go wherever you wanted on a boat. The Great Sea, while cool, was a little empty, and Spirit Tracks fixes that by plonking you on a train and railroading you a little more into where you can and can't go. See what I did there? Spirit Tracks began production in 2007 after the release of Phantom Hourglass. Before the release of Phantom Hourglass, and I'm paraphrasing here, the guys at Nintendo said something along the lines of, "What if we made a touchscreen-based Zelda game?" And when they'd done that and received a bit of feedback on it, they said, "What if we made a good Zelda game?" Apparently, one of the reasons that Spirit Tracks exists in general is that the team was so impressed with the touchscreen controls of Phantom Hourglass that they wanted to do it again. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, I suppose. And if it is broke, also don't fix it. In fact, double down! The touchscreen controls of Spirit Tracks are fine, I guess. It's just a more refined version of the previous game's controls, which were also fine, I guess. As with the previous game, these are forced. You control Link by tapping and holding a direction on the touchscreen. Sketching lines allows you to attack with your sword. You can doodle on a map that usually sits on the top screen of the console. You can tell people to subscribe to your YouTube channel on it. It's all kinda the same stuff. Outside of mods, cheats, or control remapping in third-party software, there's no official way to get around the touchscreen. I think an option for button controls would probably be the best move here, but what do I know? It's not like that exists or anything. There is no such thing as a D-pad patch for The Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks, and there never will be. Good. In fact, this game feels like it went even harder on the integration of DS features, with one of its main story items being a pan flute that is played using the DS's microphone, which is challenging. It could just be me, but the mic is pretty sensitive, and I found that more often than not, actually blowing on the mic would just freak out the sensor and the notes wouldn't be recorded, or it'll play the note multiple times, or the mic would stay registered as I tried to move to a different note, causing the flute to play every note on the way up to the next one. I've never played a pan flute, but I did take flute lessons for a bit as a kid, and while my old flute is a bit worse for wear, I don't really remember it ever being this challenging in real life. Now, is any of this bad? I don't think so. Pain points and causes for friction, sure, but I don't think the execution is as bad as some people make it out to be. I think a lot of people who picked up this game at the time already had some kind of idea of what they were getting themselves into coming off the previous game, and those that hadn't played Phantom Hourglass found Spirit Tracks easy enough to pick up and get the hang of. And I mean, hell, the game reviewed pretty well at the time, and a lot of people these days who played it then look back on it fondly, praising mainly the story, the characters, and the world. So, what do you say we talk about that? I want to reiterate that I wasn't someone that grew up with Spirit Tracks. I played Phantom Hourglass as a kid, and I was happy with it. I was content. And I didn't really touch Zelda again until 2011's Ocarina of Time 3D. While I had a couple friends that were raving about Spirit Tracks, nothing really drew me towards it until just after I'd finished high school, where I picked it up, I played it once, I went, yeah, it's alright. And that was it. But after recently replaying Phantom Hourglass, I found myself intrigued at the idea of revisiting Spirit Tracks. So now that we've got the basic stuff covered, I feel like the best way to talk about the highs and lows of the game is to look at it from start to finish, front to back, the whole 9 yards. Well, more like 8 yards, because I'm only really talking about the main story with no multiplayer, not a lot of side content. Oh, you want me to get on with it, okay? After a really cute intro cinematic, create a save file, and the game opens on a slideshow about the land that Spirit Tracks takes place on. It talks of a clash between the spirits of good and the Demon King, but not like that Demon King, but like this Demon King. The spirits of good won out and sealed him under a big tower, with train tracks known as the Spirit Tracks further strengthening the seal. The PowerPoint is revealed to be a show run by Nico, a member of Tetra's pirate crew from Wind Waker and Phantom Hourglass, and also the only surviving member of it at this point in the timeline. He lives with Link. Not that Link, this Link, who looks exactly like that Link, but as far as I understand it, is in no way related to that Link, and is purely this Link. It's like the reincarnation of the spirit of the hero or something. Don't think about it too hard. Too late. For context, Phantom Hourglass ended with Tetra, Link, and the pirates in search of new land, and this game takes place on that new land, known in the game as the Kingdom of Hyrule, creative name, and colloquially as New Hyrule, creative name. The game features characters that, outside of Nico, who is the same guy, are descendants of major and minor characters in the adult timeline of the Zelda series. Is it an excuse to reuse assets and models and resources? Probably. Is it cool though? Hell yeah! One of these descendants is Link's mentor Alfonzo, a royal train engineer whose training has led him to bringing Link to his final exam, where he'll get an audience with Princess Zelda and be certified as an engineer himself. It's a pretty breezy opening to the game, which contrasts nicely against other Zelda games that are perhaps a little more hand-holdy and long-winded. Aboda Village, which as a bit of a side tangent is a cute reference to Outset Island from Wind Waker in the PAL version, is small and simple, and within a few minutes you're hopping on a rickety old wooden train and getting on with it. The exam is a tutorial basically. Complete it and you pass the exam. If only it were that easy in real life. And all I had to do was drive a train! Run through Hyrule Castle Town, make a beeline for the castle, and run into this guy, Chancellor Cole, who wears 2 hats and is not evil in the slightest. Don't judge a book by its cover. Inside the throne room, Link has an audience with Princess Zelda, and oh, it's cute, the kid's blushing. Cole has opinions about it, but Zelda herself doesn't care. Zelda here is a direct descendant of Tetra, which is neat. She gives you a certificate, you do a pose, she also passes you a note and tells you to beware of the Chancellor. I don't know, man. What's so bad about this guy? He's small, he wears green, he has 2 hats, and he says things like this. Okay. Maybe judge a book by its cover, just this once. You're free to explore Hyrule Castle after this, but there's not a whole lot to see. Zelda's note reveals a secret path for you to follow, so doodle that and follow along. You find yourself in front of Zelda yet again, where she chats to you about the spirit tracks disappearing. That's probably not good. She asks you to sneak her out of the castle and take her to the Tower of Spirits, and in agreeing to do so, hands you a fresh outfit. Drip yourself up, and off you go. Escaping from the castle has you direct both Link and Zelda at the same time. She follows you by default, Link controls as normal, and to move Zelda separately, you draw a path for her to follow. Phantom Hourglass had a similar dual character setup in one of its dungeons, and this feels like an extension and iteration of that. Because Zelda moves along the path you draw for her, you can simultaneously move both her and Link, and although it feels a little clunky, it gets the job done. Posing as a soldier in your new threads can distract the other guards, allowing Zelda to sneak past them. If you get caught, it's not too bad, you just get sent back to the start of the area. It feels kinda like a tutorial for something else, which we'll get to. Load up the train, shoot off, and get on over to the Tower of Spirits, or attempt to, as the tracks vanish, and evil purple swirly stuff engulfs the tower, breaking it apart. Insurance doesn't cover that? A whole bunch of stuff starts to happen. A strange-looking train appears out of a puff of black smoke, and Chancellor Cole drops his two hats to reveal that he has horns and a sidekick? You mean he's evil? No, hear him out. He could still be okay. Cole makes a threat against Zelda, Alfonzo steps in, and this dude, Staven, whose name is Bryne in the US version, just straight up one-shots him. I stand corrected. With no one to defend her, Zelda also gets one shot, a weird glowy orb floats out of her body, and Link passes out. Waking up at Hyrule Castle, you and Alfonzo are alright if a little banged up, and you spot that same glowy orb wandering the halls, revealing itself to be Zelda? As a ghost, no less. She's okay. Kinda. Zelda's onto something, man. You gotta try this sometime. I've never felt better! No one can see Zelda except for Link. The two of you get to brainstorming. She floats away and you make a plan to try and head back to the Tower of Spirits. She also asks you to take the Spirit Flute with you, which in the PAL version is named the Spirit Pipes, but it's whatever. Zelda turns into a ball and off you go. Yoink a sword, go buy a shield, and head through a secret tunnel to the Tower of Spirits. In here, you find that Zelda's terrified of rats, which is kind of an important gameplay mechanic, and then you head into the tower. You see a big train-shaped rock and meet this strange old lady, Anjean, who can see Zelda and hear her and think she's hideous. That turns out to be a test of some kind, I think, as Anjean reveals that she knew Tetra and Zelda has certainly inherited her attitudes. She lays out the stakes for us. Chancellor Cole and his cronies are trying to weaken the Tower of Spirits and the Spirit Tracks to resurrect the Demon King Malladus. Who? Yeah, look, there's not much info on Malladus. He's very much a generic evil demon archetype and is probably a stand-in for Ganon, seeing as this timeline's Ganondorf is very much dead and a statue and at the bottom of the ocean. Kind of like Ben if you think about it. You hear that, buddy? He's just like you! So in order to be fully resurrected, Malladus apparently needs a vessel from the royal line of ancient Hyrule with sacred power coursing through its veins, which means Zelda's body so that he can puppet it and do generic evil bad guy things, which Zelda doesn't take too kindly to. We're given our objective. At the top of the Tower of Spirits is Zelda's body, alongside the spirit of the Demon King. We need to fortify his prison by restoring the spirit tracks between the tower and the various temples across the land. This scene also really cemented this incarnation of Zelda as one of my favorites. Her personality and temper is on full display here, instructing Link to do her bidding while she waits around, which is apparently a family tradition. Anjean says he can't do it alone, and after a few excuses, Zelda is convinced to join Link on his adventure. The Legend of Zelda series is no stranger to having a secondary character act as your companion throughout your adventure, with Phantom Hourglass having the fairy Ciela accompany you, and this is the first time where Zelda herself is given such a big spotlight in a mainline game. Up a big flight of stairs, and we're introduced to this game's central dungeon, the Tower of Spirits. Unlike the Temple of the Ocean King in Phantom Hourglass, the Tower of Spirits is honestly handled really really well by comparison. There's no time limit, there's no forced repetition, and there's enough variety in the floors to keep things fresh each time you find yourself scaling it, which feels like a response to and a refinement of the feedback from Phantom Hourglass, to the point where the Tower of Spirits is barely an inconvenience, to be honest. The tower's patrolled by these nasty-looking monsters named Phantoms. Fundamentally, they're the same as the Phantoms from the previous game, but with a snazzy new design. Plot-wise, I don't really know why they're back. I remember the first time I played Spirit Tracks, I was a little confused to see these guys. In Phantom Hourglass, they were explained as being creation of that game's big bad evil guy, which, considering the ending revealed it was also in some alternate realm, and in Spirit Tracks, they're just kinda there. Look, my headcanon is that the Phantoms in Spirit Tracks came first, and the ones created by Bellum in Phantom Hourglass are an imitation of these ones. Maybe. I don't know. It's not that deep. But anyone got a better idea? To deal with the Phantoms, you need to collect 3 Tears of Light, which power up your sword, allowing you to strike one in the back. It doesn't kill them, just stuns them, which comes as a bit of a surprise to Link and Zelda. Zelda swoops in and possesses the Phantom. It's pretty neat, and she takes to it pretty quickly. Just like that, your firepower has doubled, and you keep heading up. Having Zelda as a Phantom is a really clever way to use the 2-character system that we were introduced to back in Hyrule Castle. Phantom Zelda controls pretty much the same, only she's more powerful. She's still scared of rats though. Instead of Link being the one to talk to guards, Zelda can talk to the Phantoms on the floor, allowing Link to sneak past. Safe zones make a return which hide you from the enemy Phantom's vision, but since there's no time limit or curse to deal with in this one, they don't feel as integral of a mechanic as they perhaps did in the previous game. Once you get to the top of the section of the tower you're in, the Phantom vanishes and the light disappears from your sword. At the center of the room is a section of a glyph which restores a part of the Spirit Tracks, which means you can head on out to start meeting up with more of Anjean's people, called the Locomos, to play sacred duets that will restore more of the Spirit Tracks, allowing you to get to the temples, which in turn allows you to restore more of the tower, to do it all over again in a different area. Look, it's Zelda, it's formulaic, it's expected. To get around though, you need a train, which you currently don't have. Luckily, here's one Anjean prepared earlier. This is the Spirit Train, which serves as your main vessel of transportation for the rest of the game. Hop on it, sound the whistle, and off you go. I suppose we should probably talk about this, eh? In Phantom Hourglass and Wind Waker before it, to get around, you travel through the Great Sea on a boat. In Spirit Tracks, with it being a sequel to those games, you also have a vehicle to take you between different spots in the world. You know where this is going. Ladies, gentlemen, theys and thems, let's go drive a train. Oh, the train, it's so cool. Some people don't like it, can you believe that? Okay, let's talk about it. You have a predetermined set of rails you can traverse along, and you begin any rail journey by tracing out a path to follow on the map. While it's more restricted than the open sea of Phantom Hourglass, there's a bit more control that you have over what you're doing. You can speed up, slow down, stop, or go backwards. You can change direction when you come up to a railroad switch, meaning you don't necessarily have to stop and start to change where you're going. Unlike the previous game, you can sound the train's whistle, which alerts animals on the road and shopkeepers in the sky. I'm skipping ahead a bit here, but eventually you unlock a cannon, giving your train some offensive capability, and a cargo carriage, letting you carry stuff across the land, and can even take on board passengers to help them get from A to B. And the soundtrack? Hello? The music for traversing the overworld is honestly one of the most iconic tracks in the whole series, in my opinion. It is such a banger. I really like this. There are, of course, a few downsides though. The main one that comes to mind is fast travel. Eventually, you start to notice these gates, and when you hit a gem with your cannon and sound the whistle, you head through a portal that takes you somewhere else. I think this is one thing Phantom Hourglass does a little better, with that game's fast travel being handled via a little tablet you draw signs on from anywhere in the sea to teleport to its corresponding location. The way Spirit Tracks does it is cute and integrated within the world pretty well, but when you unlock them, you usually don't really have much to do in the area anymore. That, plus the fact that you've still got to travel to them in the first place. Overall though, the train is a really solid mode of traversal that takes the ocean exploration of its predecessors and reinterprets it for a game set mostly on land. From here on out, the game gets pretty samey for a while. It's nothing different to your stock standard Zelda loop, so we're gonna jump around a bit, skip ahead here and there, and continue to crack on. The main gameplay loop of Spirit Tracks is as follows. Find a village, solve a few problems for the locals, meet the Locomos, play a song, head to a dungeon, beat a boss, go back to the Tower of Spirits, grab a thing, and repeat. The Locomo's are fun characters that unfortunately were real progression barriers for a lot of people, and not really in a fair way either. I mentioned playing a song. Let's touch on that. You gotta play the Song of Restoration with these guys. To play a song on the Spirit Flute, you hold it with the touchscreen and drag it to the note that you want to play. Link, on the top screen, will play the note when you blow into the microphone of the DS. The problem is that the DS's microphone is overly sensitive. You can blow gently, you can blow hard, but in my experience, it's prone to miss inputs, and you're prone to getting lightheaded. This isn't great. I frequently found myself fumbling these songs and playing out of time because I tried to do a shorter, more staccato note with the system for whatever reason, thought I was emptying out my entire lung capacity, so I'd have to wait and then drag the flute and I'd miss the note and I'd get in trouble from the nice old people, and it's a sore spot for a lot of people, and I've read a few anecdotes of people dropping the game due to not being able to get past these songs. Not me though, because I'm built different. It's either that or I'm a masochist. Either way, once you've gotten to the temple, which may or may not involve you fighting some monster or navigating some spooky area on the train, you have to get through a dungeon. The dungeons in Spirit Tracks are honestly pretty good, with some really nice puzzles that, while not too hard, are decent little brain teasers that are challenging enough. They're well tuned, and I'd imagine these would stump some younger players, and they're definitely a step up from Phantom Hourglass's admittedly very straightforward approach to dungeon design. The items you get too all feel similarly well tuned and refined. There's a few returning classics from the previous game, like the boomerang and the bow and the bomb, but also some newcomers, the whirlwind, which lets you shoot out a gust by blowing into the DS's mic, and the whip, which feels very Indiana Jones-like as you use it to swing across large gaps, and the sand wand, which is a little more tedious than it probably needed to be, but cool nonetheless. Bosses in this game too also feel pretty well refined. They make good use of the dungeon's item, or the central gimmick, or the two screens of the DS, and they generally don't overstay their welcome. The Tower of Spirits, as you climb it more and more, increases in difficulty and complexity more and more. There are new phantom variants that Zelda can possess, giving you new abilities and tools as you get closer and closer to the top. While a huge chunk of this game is mechanically quite repetitive, there's enough variety in the little stories and world design to keep things feeling fresh. The 4 quadrants of the world, the forest, the ice, the ocean, and the fire realms, with a bonus desert realm squeezed in between 2 of them, are all varied enough, with unique characters and locales to keep you exploring. Some of these places have totally new people, while some feature returning faces or species like the Gorons and the Yanuki, who made their debut in Phantom Hourglass. Speaking of the previous game, one character whose absence is really felt is the other member of your crew in that game, the sea captain, Linebeck. I suppose it makes sense though, with him coming from the realm of the Ocean King and his fate being ambiguous at the end of the game. His boat was restored and seen in the after credits scene, sure, but where he went and what he did was largely left up to the player's imagination. It's a shame too, because I really liked him. There is this little house that sort of subtly resembles his ship, which I think is a nice reference, but it's an empty shop inside. Oh wait, no, the owner's just in the back. Heading up to the counter, Yeah, okay. Linebeck settled down here too. This is Linebeck III, and he is the spitting image of his grandfather. This whole sequence is a big ol' love letter to Phantom Hourglass. When you want to head to the Ocean Realm, the bridge is out, much like the start of that game, so to fix it, Linebeck sends you to fetch a handyman who ends up being a descendant of the guy that ran the shipyard in Phantom Hourglass. He quotes Linebeck an exorbitant amount of rupees, so Linebeck has the bright idea to go and pilfer his granddad's grave for a ring that's worth the cost of the repairs. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You actually do come across the final resting place of the legendary Captain Linebeck, and I'm not gonna lie, this got a bit of a reaction out of me, but no time to grieve, we've got to thieve. In the Overworld, you can learn songs on the flute that help you in various ways, and there's one here that gets you into a hidden cave. Solve a puzzle, grab the ring, and there you go. Linebeck III, sadly, doesn't join you on your adventure, but he does function as a shop that lets you sell or trade treasures you find during your journey for rupees or train parts. You can customize the different carriages of the Spirit Train, which I think is neat, but I left it stock on my run. I don't know, I just like it vanilla, I guess. So, once the Spirit Tower is back together and you ascend to the tippy top, you run into Staven again. The guy that one-shot Alfonzo is no match for Link and Zelda. Well, he's kind of a match. It's a cool boss fight. It makes use of both screens of the DS and some clever use of the 2-character system. Zelda yanks him down to the touchscreen while you wail on him as Link. You beat him pretty easy, and Link and Zelda celebrate. They're such an awesome duo. They're so epic. The real Spirit Tracks are the friends we made along the way, and Steven's leaving. It seems that we were just too late, as Chancellor Cole's ritual completes with a big, swirly, evil energy overtaking Zelda's body. Malladus has been reborn, resurrected into the body of Princess Zelda. Steven tries to backstab Cole here, attempting to take the credit for the resurrection, which backfires and was something Cole was planning for all along. Sick. Cole and the newly resurrected Demon King board some weird train with a face, and off they go. Anjean shows up, you take Steven back to the Spirit Train, who apparently was once a servant of the Spirits of Good that Anjean and the other Locomos are also servants of, and formulate a plan. Before long, Malladus will have fully merged with Zelda's body. Not great. Luckily though, there exists a sacred bow of light that can sever the connection between the spirit and its body. Zelda also vows to bash Steven when she's back in a corporeal form. It's sweet. Meet the final Locomo, get lightheaded again as you play another song. Zip through the final temple and return back to the train to deliver the good news. Zelda asks Anjean where to find Malladus, which she doesn't know. Steven, who's awake now, tells of a secret passage underneath the Tower of Spirits that contains a MacGuffin known as the Compass of Light at the very bottom. It'll get us to the Dark Realm. Anjean also, quite unceremoniously, gives us our Master Sword substitute at this stage, the Locomo Sword, which I thought was kinda funny, given that the whole second half of Phantom Hourglass revolved around collecting materials for and building that game's Master Sword standard. Head back to the Tower of Spirits and go through the final gauntlet of puzzles. These floors are honestly really tricky. I got stumped a few times trying to work these out. They really test everything you've learned on your journey up to this point. Your knowledge of items is tested. Your knowledge of the different types of Phantom Zelda can possess is tested. It throws things at you that you hadn't even considered, that you hadn't seen before, all while still feeling fair. Challenging, yes, but fair. With the Locomo Sword, you no longer need to worry about collecting 3 Tears of Light to be able to strike a Phantom and possess it. It is a welcome change and breaks up a bit of the monotony that exploring the tower had. At the very bottom is the Compass of Light, revealing one final segment to the Spirit Tracks, the path to the Dark Realm, hidden just behind Link's hometown. Oh, I really like that. Heading through the big freaky portal, you're taken to the Dark Realm. It's a pretty stereotypical evil land, but it's whatever. On the top screen are all these enemy trains and Tears of Light. Collecting one powers up the Spirit Train, making you go super quick, and sounding the whistle even further increases your speed. You slam through these trains that would otherwise one-shot you and come up against that weird evil demon train. It's a full-on boss fight that you tackle while on the rails, which is awesome. You have to avoid it trying to ram you off the track, shoot you with its cannons, and generally try to stop you, all the while you're pelting it with cannonballs until eventually it stops. This is it, the final battle. Once you defeat Malladus, you can rescue Zelda's body and get back on with your life. And look, I'll be honest, it's pretty simple, but man, it executes it well. Link, Zelda, Anjean, and Steven all get ready aboard the Spirit Train. Anjean and Steven both try to go with Link and Zelda, but Zelda interjects, saying that all they need is the 2 of them. Anjean summons a set of Phantom armor for Zelda to possess, but Zelda asks you one last question. When the fighting is over, what are you gonna do? I got a meeting at 12, I got dinner with a friend tonight. Oh, you mean like in life? Bro, I got no clue. This choice actually affects the post-credit scene, which is cool. I ummed and ahed about it for a while and eventually went with Warrior, which Zelda seemed to like. You climb aboard the demon train, it starts to move, and Malladus awakens. The first part of the final boss fight has you fight Malladus and Cole, with the top screen showing you more of what's going on. Cole can take control of Zelda's Phantom armor, scaring her with these spectral kind of rat things, and then puppeteering her with these strings that you can sever with the boomerang. You have to fend them off as you inch closer to Malladus, getting Zelda to block Malladus' laser, grab her body, and position it towards you as you take aim with the bow of light, trying to fire off a shot that hits it to get the spirit of Malladus out of there. Once you hit it, there's a bit of a struggle, the demon train explodes, and the spirit of Malladus does get forced out of Zelda's body. Zelda rushes towards it, but can't get in. Malladus is about to re-enter when he's blocked by Steven, the goat! Zelda calls out to Tetra, asking for her blessing, and successfully reclaims her physical form, and then falls out of the sky. Zelda's back! She hugs Link, Steven goes pop, and jeez, that's pretty brutal for a Zelda game, yikes. And then Cole gets eaten. In a last-ditch effort to preserve his spirit, Malladus is reborn into the vessel of Cole's body, contorting his form and looking very similar to a certain other Demon King from the series, but this time, he's blue! Whoa. You and Zelda square up against the big evil guy. She asks you to protect her while she channels the sacred power of her bloodline. It's gamer speak for keeping some large projectiles from hitting her while she charges up a thing. That thing, as it turns out, is her voice. With the power of her voice and your ability to play the spirit flutes, or lack thereof, the two of you perform one final duet to channel the power of the Kingdom of Hyrule and the spirits of good. And I struggled with this for a sec, but eventually, you play the notes properly and Zelda, Link, and the Locomos all perform in harmony. The sacred energy opens up a weak spot on Malladus' back. Using both screens of the DS, you and Zelda make a desperate last-ditch effort to fell him. By distracting him as Link, Zelda aims at the weak spot with the bow of light on the top screen. Hit him with the bow enough times and a weak spot opens on his head that Link can attack with the Locomo's sword. He struggles against you as you try to impale the sword in his weak spot. Zelda gives you a hand, and together, you successfully fell the Demon King. He vanishes, defeated. Staven is dead, apparently, but Anjean brings him back as a little glowy ball. Dude, he knows what's up. This is the good stuff. She says that as Locomos, their purpose isn't only to protect the spirit tracks, but to also watch over mankind. Thanks to her experiences with Link and Zelda, though, she can see that her guidance is no longer needed. So she floats up, turns into a ball, and with the other Locomos, heads off towards the heavens. Wait, no. I don't want to go with them. I'm not ready for this! Zelda and Link look out over the land and hold each other's hand as the game ends. And that is the Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks in a nutshell, more or less. Was it repetitive? I guess. Was it formulaic? Totally. But was it good? Hell yeah! It gave us one of the best dynamics between Link and Zelda in the entire series, and only a few games have come close since. It gave us an awesome traversal mechanic that honored what came before it while also being something totally new. It capped off the adult timeline on a hopeful note, and it proved that beyond a shadow of a doubt, this type of Zelda game, with the touchscreen and all, does work. And then they never made a touchscreen Zelda ever again.